What happens when you wake up one day and realize you've been living someone else's life? That question hits different when you've spent years saying yes to things that never felt right, staying quiet when you wanted to scream, and pretending to be okay when you've been breaking inside. You've been told to be grateful, to play it safe, to be who people expect you to be. But deep down, you know. You've been hiding, you've been settling, and it's killing your spirit slowly, one quiet compromise at a time. The truth is, every time you say yes to something that betrays your soul, you're saying no to your own life. That's not sacrifice. That's self-abandonment. You're not being strong, you're being silent in your own destruction. And maybe it started small, a job you took to be practical, a relationship you stayed in to avoid being alone, a dream you shelved because someone told you it wasn't realistic. But over time, those small betrayals add up, and suddenly you're a stranger in your own story. It's easy to justify it. You tell yourself you're being responsible, humble, loyal, but underneath it all, there's a quiet ache, the feeling that you're meant for more. And you are. You weren't born to just wake up, pay bills, and repeat. You weren't made to play small so others feel big. You weren't meant to live it fully, boldly, without apology. There comes a moment when you must stop asking for permission to be yourself. A moment when you choose courage over comfort. That moment is now. Because every day you wait, you drift further from the person you're capable of becoming. And that version of you, she's not afraid. She doesn't shrink herself to fit into small spaces. She's not waiting for the world to validate her. She knows her worth, and she refuses to negotiate with it. You owe it to yourself to be that woman. Not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, now. Because life isn't waiting, and no one is coming to save you. You are the rescue. You are the change. You are the one who has to decide that you've had enough of playing the background in your own life. It won't be easy. Choosing yourself never is, but it will be worth it. Because when you stop betraying yourself, everything changes. Your energy shifts, your confidence grows. You stop chasing approval and start attracting respect. You begin to live on your terms, guided not by fear, but by fire. So if you're tired of feeling empty, exhausted, and invisible, it's time to rise. Not for anyone else, for you. Stay with this message until the end, because if something deep inside you is screaming for more, it's not a weakness, it's a wake-up call, and it's time you finally answered it. When was the last time you made a choice just for you, not to please someone else, not to fit in, not to keep the peace, but because it truly honored who you are? That silence you just felt? That's the part of you that's been ignored for too long. The version of you that has been waiting in the background, holding her breath, watching as you shrink yourself into the expectations of others. You've played nice, you've been patient, you've stayed quiet even when your soul was begging to speak. And somewhere along the way, you started to believe that this is all life has to offer. That settling is noble, that silence is strength, that comfort is happiness. But that's a lie dressed as safety. You were not put on this earth to live a life that feels like a cage. And you were not born to tiptoe through every day, terrified of upsetting the balance, hoping someone will finally notice you, validate you, choose you. The truth is, you've been waiting for permission that's never coming. And all this time, the one person who needed to choose you was you. Every time you say yes to something that steals your peace, you say no to yourself. That may not hurt today, but over time, it eats at you. It drains your energy, it chips away at your self-respect. And one day, you wake up feeling disconnected, exhausted, resentful, and you can't quite explain why. It's because you've been abandoning yourself in small, quiet ways. And no one sees it, but you feel it. You feel it every time you bite your tongue, Every time you ignore your gut, every time you settle for less, just to avoid the discomfort of more. But discomfort is the price of growth. Choosing yourself doesn't mean it gets easier. It means it gets real. It means you start building a life that actually reflects who you are instead of who you've been pretending to be. And yes, people may not like it. They may question you, criticize you, or walk away. Let them. Because the ones who expect you to stay small were never meant to walk with you into something greater. You owe it to yourself to stop pretending, to stop playing roles that don't fit, to stop apologizing for wanting more than the bare minimum. This life is not a rehearsal. There's no do-overs. Every second you spend hiding, compromising, waiting, that's a second you can't get back. So why should you stay and listen to this message? Because somewhere inside you is a fire that's been dimmed for too long, a voice that's been silenced, a dream that's still breathing. And you don't need more time. You need a decision. One choice, one bold moment of truth where you say, enough. I'm done betraying myself. I'm done surviving. I'm ready to live for real. And it starts with choosing you. You will be tested the moment you choose yourself. Not because you're wrong, but because the world doesn't know what to do with someone who stops playing small. People will question you. They'll try to pull you back into the version of yourself that made them comfortable. They'll say, you've changed, as if that's something to be ashamed of. But the truth is, growth offends those who are committed to staying the same. And when you finally decide to rise, you stop being manageable. You stop being convenient. You become a mirror that reflects what others aren't willing to face in themselves. And that's when fear creeps in. The fear of being alone. The fear of being misunderstood. The fear that if you break away, no one will be there when it matters. But here's what you must understand. Being alone is not a punishment. It's a purification. It's where clarity is born. It's where you discover your strength without distraction, your worth without applause, and your voice without permission. Alone is not weakness. Alone is where you meet the most honest version of yourself. This isn't about being cold or distant. It's about becoming centered, rooted, unshakable. You stop chasing validation and start moving with purpose. You stop seeking approval and start trusting your own judgment. You stop living in reaction to the noise around you and start leading your life from the inside out. That's real power. Not the kind that shouts or demands attention, but the kind that walks in silence and still commands respect. And yes, it hurts to outgrow people. It hurts to walk away from environments you once called home. But nothing hurts more than staying stuck in a place your soul has already left. You weren't meant to belong everywhere. You weren't meant to be understood by everyone. You were meant to rise, even if it means rising alone. The moment you stop needing others to agree with your path is the moment you begin to truly walk it. And as you walk, you'll notice something. The fear starts to fade. The noise grows quieter. The opinions that once paralyzed you lose their grip. And in that silence, a new voice emerges, yours. Steady, certain, unshaken. That voice is your compass. It's the one that says, keep going, even when it's dark. It's the one that reminds you of your worth when others forget it. It's the one that won't let you quit because it knows what's waiting on the other side of your discomfort. Freedom. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to decide that you're no longer available for anything that makes you question your value. You are not too much. You are not too late. You are not wrong for wanting more. You are becoming who you were always meant to be. And the moment you embrace that fully, the world has no choice but to make room for you. You are not here to blend in. You are here to become undeniable. You are here to wake up every part of yourself that has been numbed by doubt, delayed by fear, and silenced by comfort. The moment you stop shrinking is the moment you start living. Not existing, not coping, living. With clarity, with direction, with intention. The world doesn't give you what you ask for. It gives you what you demand through your actions, your standards, your persistence. And if you keep waiting for the perfect time, the perfect plan, the perfect confidence, you'll spend your whole life on the sidelines of your own potential. The ones who rise aren't fearless. They just move anyway. They feel the fear and still choose to show up because they understand one powerful truth. Action builds belief. Discipline builds confidence, and repetition creates power. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. You need to move until you become ready. Because the version of you who's living the life you want isn't waiting. She's acting. She's deciding. She's refusing to settle for anything that doesn't align with her purpose. No one sees the silent battles you fight just to keep going. The mornings you rise when everything in you says stay down. The moments you show up with shaky hands and a tired heart. But that's where greatness is born. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. Not when it's easy, but when everything in you wants to quit, and you don't. To rise, to fight, to find and fight. Not when the person in front of you wants to quit, and you don't. The moments you fight just to prove to yourself you can quit, and you don't. The moments you show up with shaky hands and a tired heart. But that's what greatness is born. Not when it's easy, but when everything in you wants to quit, and you don't. That's when your character is carved. That's when your future is built, not by chance, but by choice. Consistent, powerful, unshakable choice. You owe it to yourself to be relentless, to be obsessed with becoming, to push beyond excuses, beyond comfort, beyond limits. You owe it to yourself to rise above the noise and listen to the only voice that matters, the one inside that says, I'm not done yet. That voice is your power. That voice is your truth. That voice is your future calling you forward. This isn't about being better than anyone else. It's about being better than the person who gave up too soon. It's about outlasting the version of you that thought survival was enough. It's not. Not for you. Not anymore. You've seen too much, felt too much, endured too much to settle now. You don't get to come this far and stop. You don't get to bury your potential because it's hard. Everything you want, peace, purpose, power, it's all on the other side of pushing through. You are not made to be average. You are not built for a life of almosts and maybes. You were made for impact, for intensity, for greatness. But it starts with the choice to stop waiting and start becoming. Don't let another day slip through your hands. Don't let fear decide your future. Look in the mirror and make a promise. I will not waste this life. Not one more minute, not one more breath. You owe it to yourself. Your life will only rise to the level of the standards you set for yourself. Not the dreams you talk about, not the goals you write down, but the expectations you live by. If you demand more from yourself, you will get more. But if you accept mediocrity, you'll stay trapped in it. This is the raw truth most people avoid. Your future isn't determined by luck or fate, but by what you're willing to tolerate. And too many people tolerate far too little of what they truly deserve. You weren't born with limits. You were trained to believe in them. Somewhere along the way, someone taught you to doubt yourself, to play it safe, to lower your voice. And you believed them. Not because they were right, but because you didn't yet know the fire you carried inside. But now you do. Now there's no excuse left. Not fear, not failure, not the past. You have what it takes. You've always had it. And if you're waiting for someone to come, give you permission to rise. Stop waiting. You already have everything you need. You just have to step into it. You build the life you want by showing up when it's hard, by doing the work no one sees, by deciding that average is not enough. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about waking up every day with purpose and refusing to let your circumstances define your limits. Every time you push through, you're training your mind to believe in possibility. You're proving to yourself that excuses will never build the future you crave. Only action will. Pain will meet you either way, in the struggle to grow or the regret of standing still. One transforms you, the other destroys you slowly. You get to choose. And the choice is made in how you show up when it's uncomfortable, when no one's clapping, when no one understands. That's where champions are born, not when it's easy, but when it's brutal, and you keep going anyway. You don't need more inspiration, you need more commitment. You need to get serious about your life, about your vision, about what you're building, because nothing will change until you change. You can talk about it, you can dream about it, but until you move, nothing happens. Until you take the first step, scared, uncertain, imperfect, you stay stuck. The fire in you is not random. It's not a mistake. It's your signal. It's your invitation. That burning desire for more is your soul trying to remind you who you are. Listen to it. Trust it. Feed it. Stop wasting your energy fitting into places you've outgrown. Stop explaining your hunger to people who've never had an appetite for greatness. This is your life, your one shot, your time to rise. So burn the excuses, drop the limits, and walk like the woman who knows she was never meant to blend in. You were made to stand out. And now it's time to own it. There's a version of you that's waiting on the other side of discipline. She's not distant. She's not unreachable. She's already within you, buried beneath every excuse, every delay, every moment you told yourself not yet. She's powerful, focused, unshakable. But she only shows up when you commit. Not halfway, not when it's convenient, fully. Because transformation doesn't respond to interest. It responds to obsession. When you decide that becoming her is non-negotiable, everything in your life starts to shift. Your energy changes, your mindset strengthens, your habits align, and the world begins to reflect back the standard you've set. But until you get serious, you'll stay stuck in cycles. You'll keep repeating the same patterns, having the same doubts, fighting the same battles. Growth requires separation. Separation from distraction, from comfort, from people who don't respect your evolution. You can't rise while clinging to what's pulling you down. You must choose the life you want or the one you've been tolerating, your dreams or your distractions, alignment or approval, because you cannot have both. And the moment you try to please everyone, you lose yourself. You owe yourself honesty, real, raw honesty. Are your habits reflecting the life you claim to want? Is your discipline strong enough to carry the weight of your vision? Or are you still waiting for motivation to rescue you? If you are, you've already lost. Motivation is fleeting, but self-respect, that's fuel. When you start showing up for yourself, not because you feel like it, but because you promised yourself you would, you start to build trust within. That trust becomes power. It becomes certainty. It becomes your edge in a world full of hesitation. No one can want it for you. No one can do the work. No one can fight your battles. It has to be you. And that's what makes it beautiful. Because the power to change your life has been in your hands all along. You just forgot. You just got distracted. But now it's time to remember who you are, what you're made of, why you started. This isn't about talent, it's about tenacity. This isn't about ease, it's about endurance. It's about getting back up every time you fall, not because you're fearless, but because you refuse to live a life that falls short of your potential. This is your call to stop playing small, to stop treating your purpose like a side project, to stop waiting for a perfect day that may never come. You were not created to blend into the noise. You were not made to water down your fire. You were born to lead, to impact, to rise so boldly that even your silence speaks. If you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. The moment is now. The choice is yours. And the woman you're becoming, she's not hoping anymore. She's deciding. She's rising. She's already on the way.